What's up, everybody? It's Jorge Larrea Jr., better known as JO2. Today, we're going to be recapping UFC 277, which went down this past Saturday, July 30th. The main event was Juliana Peña versus Amanda Nunes for the women's bantamweight title at 135. The co-main event was for the 125 men's flyweight championship title between Brandon Moreno, interim flyweight championship title between Brandon Moreno and KaraFrance. Now, both of these title fights were rematches. Brandon Moreno, KaraFrance were a couple years ago. Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunes was more recently, if I'm not mistaken, this past December, in which Juliana Pena shocked the world by submitting Amanda Nunes in round two. Not just submitting her, but literally beating her, outstriking her, then taking her down and choking her out. Something that hasn't been done to Amanda Nunes since Gina Carano way back in the day. Now, we're going to get into this entire main card in UFC 277 in Dallas, Texas. It was a great card. Overall, there were some upsets as far as we'll talk about some fights and some disappointing things that happened. But starting off was Magomed Ankalaev versus Anthony Smith. And this was a light heavyweight at the 205-pound weight division. I was very concerned for Anthony Smith. He came into this fight very confident, and Magomed Ankalaev has been on a tear. He's tore up Ian Cutelaba twice. He's also beat Thiago Santos. He has been in some sluggish fights, very slow. He seems to be like, I don't want to say gun shy because he does engage, but he doesn't engage to win. He's almost like point fighting, but he's not necessarily going for the finish. And this fight, this entire week, throughout fight week, it felt like he was really looking, he had a different energy around him, and he was looking to prove that he was ready. Anthony Smith, on the other hand, was trying to prove that Magomed Ankalaev is not who he thinks he is and who everybody thinks he is, which is, a future champion from Dagestani, another champion. Now he would be in the 205 division, and Magomed Ankalaev, thinks he is very close to title contention. This fight went kind of how I thought it would. Lots of striking and stand up at first. Anthony Smith broke his leg at some point in the first round, which then leading into the second round led Anthony Smith to go into a very takedown heavy approach. He was trying to really just grapple him and take Magomed Ankalaev down, but with the broken leg or broken ankle, we're not really sure yet. The report isn't out exactly what injury he has, but he did suffer an injury in the first round. It's supposed to be, it looks like it was a leg. It was a checked leg kick by Magomed Ankalaev, so credit to him, of course. He ends up getting the victory. In the second round, he gets a KO/TKO. He just kind of ground and pounded Anthony. Smith really had nothing for Magomed, especially once he was injured. It looked like he was just out of the fight the entire time. You know, I hope for a speedy recovery for Anthony Smith, and we're going to be moving on to the next fight. Now, this fight I was very excited for. Alexander Pantoja versus Alex Perez. That is the 125-pound flyweight men's division. This fight is a title eliminator, basically. There will be the interim title fight. Then whoever won the interim title for the flyweights was going to fight the now champion Deiveson Figueiredo and unify that belt. And then the winner of this fight between Alexander Pantoja and Alex Perez was going to fight for the title. Alexander Pantoja has come off a very let me not say very impressive. He came off a dominant win over Brandon Royval, who is a prospect and let it be known, a contender, a future contender in the 125-pound division. The issue in this fight, I think, for Alex Perez was he came off a loss from, by Deiveson Figueiredo. He hasn't been able to make weight. He's been struggling recently, and he's fighting an absolute killer. Pantoja wanted to make a statement, and a statement he made. Immediately, they met in the middle of the octagon, and Alexander Pantoja and Perez started to throw bombs. At one point, Pantoja basically backs up Perez towards the corner of the octagon, and he gets a body lock, and then he gets a backpack, and he's mounted on him. Now he's mounted on his back. In the first round, they're dry, and here goes Alexander Pantoja. Just, Perez, all he could do is fight the hands off and make sure while he's standing, and he's literally has a grown man wrapped around him trying to choke him. in literally 30 seconds. This fight was over in 91 seconds. Alexander Pantoja looked absolutely amazing. I mean, in the post-fight interview, he was hyped up. He was fired up. He wants his title shot. I definitely believe that once this title between the interim and the now Davison Figueiredo gets unified, we will be able to see um Alexander Pantoja now, get his opportunity for a title shot. He's been in the UFC for a very long time, and he's been probably one of the best prospects. Always been fighting top 5 or top 10 guys. Moving on to the next, one of the more disappointing fights of the night, Sergey Pavlovich versus Derrick Lewis. This was supposed to be a banger, stand and bang, two heavyweights going at it, punching each other and beating the absolute snot out of each other. I was about ready to see a 3-round bloody war, and of course, somebody was going to end up getting knocked out. That was Derrick Lewis, who some believe, I personally believe, was an early stoppage by Dan Mergliotta. But to Dan Mergliotta's defense, in the way that Derrick Lewis fell, if you go back and you look at the video, Derrick Lewis falls with his head first. Now, he could have just put his head up a bit, but Sergey would have just had to stand over and hit him, and he probably would have finished him. So was it a premature stoppage? Quite possibly. But it wasn't the worst stoppage in the world. It was a warranted stoppage. I don't blame Dan Mergliotta. I believe Derrick Lewis will bounce back. They should probably run this fight back, to be honest. It should be a rematch. I don't see why Sergey would move up in the rankings, why Derrick Lewis would fall in the rankings, or vice versa. Moving on, we're going to get to the nice, spicy, juicy stuff. Brandon Moreno versus KaraFrance. The interim flyweight championship title. This is exactly what MMA is about. Joe Rogan said it best. These are the most talented. These are the most skilled fighters in the UFC, and we're just talking about skill for skill, pound for pound. These are the most skilled fighters because they're the quickest. They're the most elusive. They've got the most technical ability, and of course, they're pure skill. These two fought before. KaraFrance takes the first round, gets a knockdown. Brandon Moreno comes back in the second and third, imposes his will. Takes a very close decision that could have gone either way. Brandon Moreno wins. KaraFrance believes that he should have won that fight, as every other fighter does believe. And in the lead up to this fight, it was believed that there were going to be a finish, but it would be on KaraFrance's side. Instead, it's Brandon Moreno who finishes KaraFrance. This fight was particularly interesting. Brandon Moreno is in a new camp. He left Tijuana, and he's now with James Cross in Kansas City, Missouri. And he's training with James Cross, who's elite coach, and also any weight champ. He fights at literally any weight that they needed him to fight. James Cross would fight in, and he would fight any opponent. It did not matter. What makes him so good, though, is he's an excellent coach. He's vouched by many people in the MMA community. And Brandon Moreno did show many and various, I don't want to say various improvements, but just little tweaks. Because KaraFrance brought in Davison Figueiredo's game plan. And if that was Davison Figueiredo, the fight would not have gone the way it would have gone. I'm not saying Brandon Moreno wouldn't have won. He possibly could have still won, but I don't know if he would have won in that same exact way. Brandon Moreno gets I think it was in the second round, tries to get a takedown, and KaraFrance defends it. That was a huge moment in the fight for KaraFrance not to get taken down and keep the fight standing. KaraFrance was the more efficient and the more volume striker, and yet somehow Brandon Moreno ended up winning this fight. Why? I think precision. The thing with KaraFrance was he was throwing a lot of leg kicks. There was a specific combo, you could see the clip, it's been going around. I'm not a technical genius, where James Cross is telling Brandon Moreno to finish a combo instead of with the left high kick to sometimes kick to the body. Now he did this. In the third round, I think he does it once. In the third round, hits KaraFrance after hitting him in the head in the second round. And then in the second time he throws that body kick, KaraFrance catches it, doesn't drop Brandon Moreno, kind of takes him down, and then it starts initiating ground and pound, and then hits him with an elbow, which cuts him right here above his, under his, if I'm not mistaken, his right eye? Yeah, it was under his right eye he cut him. And this is where I thought, oh wow, the tides were turning. KaraFrance was just kind of swarmed on him, and Brandon Moreno ends up getting up. And this turns into a dogfight. I mean, Brandon Moreno immediately turns into just a Mexican spirited warrior and starts throwing that beautiful jab. That's what I love about Brandon Moreno. He's such a good boxer, but now he's developing everything else around his game, and he's becoming an overall mixed martial artist. And that jab of his was just snapping after it. Once he started bleeding, he really did turn into another fighter. He made it a dirty fight, and he kind of just went at KaraFrance. He did not let Kai breathe. The entire fight, rounds 1, 2, and 3, he just kept the pressure on him. And just right in the third round, kind of towards the end, Brandon Moreno just throws a beautiful left body kick, hits him right in the liver with the toe. Kai just shuts down, almost immediately drops, and Brandon Moreno, goes down, ground and pound, finishes the job, and he is your UFC interim flyweight champion at the 125 men's division. That is just amazing, because now in December we're going to get the fourth, which I believe Brandon Moreno won the third fight. Some believe that Deiveson Figueiredo won. It could go either way, to be honest. But now we're going to get a fourth fight to just solidify this, to unify this belt, and once and for all close that chapter and see, maybe does Moreno go up to 135, or will Deiveson Figueiredo end up going to 135 and having to compete for a new belt? Moving on, the event that everybody was waiting for, the GOAT Slayer, what's going to happen, this, that, and the third. Amanda Nunes physically looked amazing. And in my head, I thought, dang, she looks really good. But I thought Juliana Pena had a chance. Ladies and gentlemen, the final scorecards were 50-43 across the board. Amanda Nunes beat the absolute brakes off Juliana Pena. That was absolutely devastating to watch. The entire time, I just thought to myself, oh my God, Juliana Pena could get this armbar. Juliana Pena could get this armbar. And then I realized, Juliana Pena can literally only get an armbar because Amanda Nunes has knocked her down with every right hook she's thrown. Pena would literally walk forward, and Nunes, it's like force. She just, and then drop. It was one of the most dominant performances I've ever seen from forget a challenger. She's a champion. She's the GOAT. She's the greatest female fighter of all time. I mean, after that performance, what can you say? Amanda Nunes came back. The Lioness has returned. She is back. She absolutely dominated Juliana Pena. She went 6 for 8 on her takedowns. She did whatever she wanted to do to Juliana Pena. Credit to Juliana Pena. She did land more strikes, not at a more efficient rate. But where Pena did do is she did land her. She did do damage. Nunes was seen on crutches after the fight, and she's just swollen all in her face. But Juliana Pena needs to go see a plastic surgeon because she's missing a chunk on her forehead. I mean, Nunes, just the first, second, and third round outstruck her. And then in the fourth and the fifth round, decided to take the fight to the ground and dominate on the ground. Well, in the third round, she did take it to the ground as well. But in the fourth and the fifth round, she primarily just did whatever she wanted. She took her all 5 rounds. She dominated in every facet of the game. Grappling, striking, mental, goal, whatever you want to talk. Juliana Pena is going to have to work her way up. I have no idea how many fights, but if you're going to want to see a third fight between Peña and Nunes, it only makes sense because they're 1-1. But after that performance, quite honestly, if we never see that fight, I think every single MMA fan would be comfortable with that. Because I was worried for Juliana Pena. She is such a warrior. She's one of the she's probably the toughest female fighter of all time. Hands down. Every single, I personally believe, this is my personal belief, Jorge Loré Jr., that every single female fighter would have either tapped or been knocked out by Amanda Nunes in that fight. And Juliana Pena made it through all 5 rounds. She could not be finished. So, she almost got an armbar. There's a chance for Juliana Pena. Am I saying she's going to, be able to capitalize in a third fight? No, but she should come in, fight a couple more girls, rack up a win or 2, and start her campaign calling out Amanda Nunes and try to get that belt one more time, before Nunes rides off into the sunset. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and thank you, everybody, for watching and tuning in to the JL2 MMA Rookie Show. Thank you very much. That is all for UFC 277 coverage. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful night.